Did your dad ever work for Singmaster?
Yes, he did. He worked for Homer and Charles. He first started working for Charles Singmaster.
Mm-hmm.
And so did both of my brothers, your grandpa.
Mm.
Whitey and Art both worked there when we first came to Iowa, April 13th,
In 1914?
1913.
13?
Mm-hmm.
What did they do for him?
Well, they had Omer Singmaster had that big Persian stallions and that Lagos that you so
Yeah.
well. He took my dad took those on tours, like to Des Moines, to the state fair, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And finally he went on the boat and took them to France. So the other two boys worked for Charlie Singmaster.
Mm-hmm. And your dad, was he like a handler of the horses?
Yeah,
Groomed and
Groomed
just
and-
took care of them?
Uh-huh.
Was he he must have been real handy with horses then.
Oh yeah, I guess he was.
Yeah. Is that what he did in Nebraska also?
No, in Nebraska, no. I don't remember. And when we came to Iowa after he left Singmasters, he and Art and Whitey, all three of them worked on the gas line that went through Leota
Mm-hmm.
until that was completed. And then he went to Des Moines, and he was working with horses again. Now, what horses, Kirk, I don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, he called Mother and asked Mother to come down. That was during the fair. He was showing horses for someone. And she come on back home, and he left, and we didn't see him again until he came back in. Let me see now. I was in bed with Betty. She was born, and she was born in February 21. And that's the first that I'd seen my father since I was about 16.
Mm-hmm.
And he came in and come to the door, and my mother-in-law was there, wanted to know if he could come in. He understood he had a granddaughter. And I know he picked up Betty and held her. And then later, Whitey come over to talk to me, and I found out he had cancer of the mouth.
Mm.
And he wanted to come back and have Mother take care of him. He just came from Mayo Brothers. And Whitey just told him, he said, no, all these years, he said, Sis quit school, he said, so she could help Mother raise those 3 little kids. He said, so, he said, you never contacted any of us, none of us knew where you were or nothing. And he said, why should she take care of you now? And he said, I've taken care of all of them, seen them all get married and give up my home, you know, give up a chance to get married and all.
Yeah.
Till I seen the kids all settled. Well, of course, but Chancey, he made his home with Mother, but Whitey did. He just stayed right there till we were all married and had homes of our own. So he just refused to have my dad come back.
How did your dad react to that?
I never saw my dad but that one time then. That one trip he made when Betty was a baby and I was still in bed.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next time I saw him, I heard he was in Sigourney in the county home,
Mm-hmm.
and he was real bad. So Mother and Dorothy and I went to see him.
Mm-hmm.
And then they moved him from Sigourney to out south of Harper in a tent, because by that time it had ached, you know, till it was, he had just, like big bandages on the side of his face.
Did it eat away his face?
Yeah, and it ate till it ate to the jugular bone.
Oh.
And then we heard that he passed away.
So he actually died in Harper then?
Yeah, he actually died in Harper.
Okay. Because Grandma had told me that he had died at the county home in Sigourney.
No, he died in Harper, in that tent.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Why?
it was a covered funeral, so nobody ever knew. Only Whitey knew what he looked like.
Mhm.
But we kids, if Whitey knew, he never told any of us because we never got to see that. You know?
Yeah.
It was just a closed casket. And we always had the feeling maybe he set that tent on fire or something, you know. But
Who did?
my dad,
Oh,
you know, the way he went out, but nobody ever knew, no one ever said. And I doubt it because we would have heard, you know, later by it being close by somebody. But he must have been a sight because Whitey wouldn't let anybody see him, just had a close funeral.
he was buried, I think, the day after he died.
Yeah, the very next day.
Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
was buried at the county home.
Okay, so he was buried back in Sigourney.
Yeah, that's where he was buried.
And Chance had always said that there was a stone that had been put up for him, but that it kept getting knocked down by cows. And
I don't think it was a stone, Kirk. I think it was like a board with the name on, you know,
Oh.
and put down in, and then of course the cattle going over, you know,
Hmm.
would knock it down. But always Mother and Whitey went out every year to decorate, you know, because
Mhm.
I was with them a couple, 3 times. It wasn't a regular stone, it was like a board painted white is what it was with his name, kind of his
That just seems so sad,
Yes,
the way
it does.
he went.
Yeah, it is sad,
Yeah.
really.
Do you think it was the cancer was caused? Did he chew tobacco?
A cigar. He held a cigar in his mouth right here all the time.
Mm.
Never chewed tobacco, but just kept that cigar moist, you know.
Yeah.
And I remember when we kids were little, the doctor told him, he said, Art, if you keep sucking on that cigar and keep that moist, he said, that's going to create a problem for you. And he quit for quite a while.
Hmm.
And then evidently went back to the cigar again.
Did he ever have any other type of diseases?
Not that I know of.
How tall was he?
6'2",
What color was his hair?
black,
His eye?
dark brown eyes.
And
He was a good-looking man,
yeah.
real good-looking. And he loved life. And I can remember when Mother and he, I always said, was never well mated because she was so quiet and she lived for her family.
Mhm.
Her family, her children, and her home was her life, her
Mhm.
whole life. And my dad was a fun-loving person. He belonged to the Elks and the Masons, and he wanted to go, and I can remember as a small girl, him just coaxing and begging her to go up to lodge with him, you know. He wanted to take her along, but she never was interested in that. And I know one time he brought her home a beautiful white blouse, you know how they wore them with the collars up and the lace around, and he had a cameo necklace for her, and he was putting that around her house dress, you know, to show her how pretty it was. You're my girl, he said, you're going with me tonight. I can remember that just like it was yesterday, but she didn't go. And that night about midnight, he come to my bedroom, picked me up and brought me down to the dining room, and he had a great big platter of fried oysters for Mother and I at midnight.
Jeez.
But that's the way he was, you know. He just,
Mhm.
he loved life and he loved to go. And so I said, in a way I can see how he drifted away because she was so quiet, so refined, so religious,
Mhm.
and lived just for the family.
Yeah.
And I think that's what separated them, really.
Mhm.
But she never, ever got over him, I know.
Is that right?
No.
She always loved him. Huh?
Oh, yes, always, right up to, I know the day that they told her that he was gone, we went over that night, my husband and I, and she was sitting in the chair just holding her hands, you know, sitting there just looking ahead.
Mm.
She never did get over him.
They never got a divorce or anything,
No,
did they?
no.
And he just more or less just drifted away from.
Just drifted away.
Yeah.
No fights or quarrels or nothing, and he just didn't come back.
Mhm. He always treated her well, though.
Oh, yes, he was good to her.
Mhm.
Land, yes. I think my dad loved my mother very much, but he just, he loved life. Kirk.
Mhm.
That's what it was. He wanted to be out with people and doing things. She wanted to stay home,
Yeah.
mother her little brood.
Now you had said at one time something about that he had gotten a dress for you, or got you all dressed up in Nebraska, I think.
Oh yeah, after I'd come home from the hospital, I'd had bronchial pneumonia.
Mhm.
And they said he carried me around on a bed pillow for, oh, so long, and then finally he dressed me all up. He always called me his babe. Yeah, my dad was good to me.
Did he have a tavern in York? Was
In
that it?
Hastings.
Hastings?
Hastings, yeah. My grandpa had the tavern, his dad.
Mhm.
And not the tavern, he had a clothing store.
Mhm.
And when they moved from Hastings to California, they gave the clothing store to my dad.
Mhm.
And in less than a month, they said he had it divided and had a pool hall in the back and the clothing store in the front. But he's a gambler. I know I've seen him come home with, a big wad of money like that. Always something pretty for my mother.
Mhm.
It was china or clothes or jewelry or something. Next time he'd come home, he'd be broke. His ring would be gone. He had an elk's tooth, with a diamond in it on that chain with the watch. Everything would be gone. He wouldn't have nothing.
Hmm.
He's just happy-go-lucky guy.
Chance had said one time that they had to use him as sort of a lookout, see whenever he came into town. I think they just wanted to be forewarned whenever he did come in.
My dad?
Yeah.
That I don't know, can't tell you about that.
Did he ever own a car?
Not that I know of.
He got around either by horse or by walking?
Yeah, or through friends, somebody else taking him where he wanted to go,
Yeah.
or bus.
Hmm. Of course, he died, I think, 3 years before his dad did.
That's what I didn't know that. No, and I think you was telling me that when you were here a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Never knew that my grandfather was living.
Yeah, he died 1924 in Virginia. He went back to an old soldier's home and died there.
Huh. How I would have liked to have seen him.
Yeah.
Or just even corresponded with him.
Yeah. I guess he had a sister in Ohio that he had talked with back and forth.
My dad?
Yeah. And of course he had a brother in Seattle too. He had 2 brothers in Seattle.
Yeah, he lost the one brother,
Mm-hmm.
Samuel, with consumption. Good
Mhm.
consumption.
Do you remember where?
No, I don't.
Mm.
And that other brother, I never even knew about.
Well, Henry lived up in Seattle,
Yeah.
and there's a number of people that are still around there named Sellman.
Oh, yeah. The Sellmans, one in California, too, is by a Luce, I think. Jess Luce. That's how my brother was named after.
Oh, is that right?
Jess, yeah. And somehow or other, he's connected with the Sellmans. He has a big orange grove, or did have, probably isn't yours near around
Hmm.
now. Yeah.
Do you
And
remember?
That's how my grandparents went out there to California.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
You see, I've never been able to find out much about your grandmother, Lucilia Agatha.
Yeah.
Well, there's a dispute as to whether it's Rice or Snyder,
Yeah.
her last name, but I've never been able to find out much about where she died.
I don't know either. The last I know that they went to California, so it must be out around California someplace.
Hmm. Because on some of his Civil War records, he put in there that he was divorced.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm wondering if he divorced her out in California then.
I bet he did, because they left together. I know that. I remember that.
You're not sure exactly where in California they went, huh?
I'm pretty sure it was around Los Angeles, but I'm not positive.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure that's where it was, around
Hmm.
L.A.
Because he, after about 1893 or so, he was living in soldiers' homes from that point on till the end of his life.
Yeah.
And Of course, did you ever hear how he got wounded in the war?
No, never did.
He had joined up, I think, in Keokuk, and he had gone and gotten on a ship that was to head to Cairo,
Oh.
and he was sitting on top of a deck, and evidently there was people underneath him that were playing around with guns and stuff, and somebody dropped a gun and it shot him
Oh,
in the left breast, I guess.
Huh.
And he didn't even, it wasn't even in action, he didn't even get near a battle or anything, but he was wounded, and they put him in the hospital, and he had a desk job all the way through the war.
Well, no, I didn't know that.
He got gradually paralyzed through his life, and he got to the point where he couldn't do anything.
Huh.
His whole left side, and
Yeah.
I guess his face and his eyes and ears, just everything was gone.
Huh.
So but evidently he was a teacher, and I guess he was a gardener also,
Mhm.
and they have quite a few affidavits by people talking about what he did and what he could and couldn't do.
Mhm.
And I guess he was really something. He used to go visit people in different towns. Whenever he was in a soldier's home, he'd go visit them,
Yeah.
people that he knew. So he kept in contact. There's a person that Uncle Alec, they used to call him, used to come visit him every once in a while.
Yeah.
He must have been quite a man.
Yeah. That's the way my dad was. He was up and going all
Mhm.
the time.
Did your dad ever talk about his dad?
No.
Hmm.
Not much.
Yeah, I wish I could have known both of
Oh,
your dad
yes.
and his dad.
I would like to have known my grandpa
Yeah.
better.
Who were the kids named after? Your brothers and sisters?
Dorothy was named after Grandma Snyder, or Grandma Sellman.
Mm-hmm.
Lucilia. And Jess was named after that Jess Luce.
Mm-hmm.
And Troy, I remember Mother telling me Troy Maurice is his name, but I don't remember. And Art was named after his dad,
Yeah.
Arthur Alexander.
And you were named after your mother.
And I was named after Mama.
And Chance?
Chancey, I don't know who he was named after. Chancey Lewis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought somebody had said that my grandpa was named after a friend of the family,
Could have been.
Yeah.
Could have
but I
been.
haven't ever been able to find anything out about
Yeah.
that. Now, your dad worked in a mining camp in the Black Hills, right?
Uh-huh.
And where was my grandpa born then?
Grandpa Sellman?
My grandpa, Troy.
Oh, he was born in the Rosebud Reservation
Mm-hmm.
in Brocksburg, what is known now as Brocksburg, Nebraska.
Yeah.
But it was the Rosebud Reservation there in Black Hills, South Dakota.
Did they ever work for the reservation in any way?
Not that I know of.
Mm. My dad's always thought that there was Indian blood in the family by looking at Uncle Art, your brother Art,
Yeah.
everybody.
I know everybody says, even my daughter says that looks like there is, but there, to my knowledge, there isn't.
I can't find any.
Uh-uh.
I don't see
No,
where it's
it
at.
was Whitey, or Troy. Troy and Art and I was all born on that Rosebud Reservation,
Mm,
which is later Brocksburg, Nebraska.
yeah. There's a picture that my grandpa had of himself when he was a little boy sitting in I think it was in the Black Hills also, when he
Yeah.
was 1 or 2, and he had that such long hair at the
Yeah.
time. Was that traditional?
Oh, yes.
Really?
Up until they got 5, 6 years old, they braided or have curls hanging way down below their shoulder, and little blouses like ruffles all
Yeah.
over them,
Yeah.
and then short pants.
Hmm.
Really, and some of them was just like pleated skirts. They dressed them more like girls than boys, really.
Yeah. What age did Troy start working?
I can remember when he was driving a meat truck with a horse and buggy, delivering meat around.
Mm-hmm.
He was only 9 years old.
Oh boy.
He's worked ever since that I know of.
Did he have to go to work?
Oh yeah. He was always mother's right-hand boy.
Mhm.
She'd bundle him up and heat bricks. I can remember her putting bricks in that buggy for him so his feet wouldn't freeze when
Mhm.
he delivered that meat.
Mm.
He's always, I said he was a brother, a father, ever counselor. He was one wonderful person.
Yeah, I wish he was still around.
Yeah.
What other jobs did he have when
Well,
he was young?
he worked for besides that meat, he was looking after my dad and bringing him home drunk and at night. Mother'd send him down to that clothing store, to pick up the money, bring him home because he'd be drunk. I can remember that. And then later on, he worked, like I said, for Singmasters. And then from Singmasters to that ditch digging.
Mm-hmm.
And then he went into service. He come back from service and he worked at Chevrolet Motors for quite a while. And then he had Dodge agency of his own.
Mm-hmm.
Just work.
Yeah.
He's always worked ever since I can remember. As a little boy on, he was a provider.
Did your dad ever have any nicknames for anybody? Other than calling you Babe?
Yeah, I was always Babe.
Mm-hmm. Whoever came up with the name Whitey for my grandpa?
I don't know where he got that from because his hair was kind of sandy, light.
Yeah.
He was just nicknamed as a kid, I guess. Whitey went by then.
Hmm. There's some of the strangest nicknames in Leota.
Yeah, isn't there though?
If I'd lived there, I wonder what I would have come up with.
And Chancey's nickname was Chief.
Mm.
I don't know who named him that either, but he went by Chief
Hmm.
as a kid.
How did your dad dress?
Snazzy.
Really?
Mm.
Was he always with the latest fashions?
Oh yeah, he was a sharp dresser.
Did he wear a hat?
No, not so much.
Hmm.
No, he went bareheaded. Had that hair arched up, He was a proud, on his shoulders back. He walked, with a swing. Arrogant is the word.
Is that right?
Yeah, real arrogant.
Hmm.
He was a proud man.
Did he ever get in any fights with anybody?
Not that I know of.
Hmm. I would think with that type of attitude there might be
you
people.
would think so. Just like he thought the chips up there try to knock it off, but somehow or other they didn't.
Hmm.
Yet he was happy-go-lucky too, Kirk. He was laughing, and joking. And he was a great joker. He was always coming up with some kind of a joke.
Mm-hmm. Did he have any kind of an accent that you can remember?
No.
Hmm. Did he have any favorite sayings that you can remember?
No, not that I know of.
Do you know if he ever heard from his father the last few years that he was alive?
No, I couldn't tell you. Like I said, he left and we didn't see him again, until my daughter was born.
Yeah.
So whether he kept in contact with his relatives or not, no one knows.
Hmm.
He sure didn't keep in contact with us.
Doesn't sound like he was a letter writer.
No. Not even a telephoner.
Of course, they didn't have telephone too
No.
much back then at
No.
that time. Now, you said that he was a member of the Elks and the Masons.
Uh-huh.
Anything else?
He belonged to the Elks and the Masons and Woodman, I think.
Mm.
Lodge. He's very active in the lodge work.
Got something here that I thought you might be interested in. See if you recognize it.
looks like my mother. Now, there was a tintype picture similar to that.
Is that right?
Uh-huh. And I wanted it so bad.
Hmm.
But I don't know whatever happened to it.
Do you know what that little emblem on his lapel is there?
No, I wouldn't have any idea.
Now that looks like that, what you were talking about, where he put that lace around her neck.
Yeah, and that brooch. But
How-
that's not the cameo,
Mm.
but it is a brooch.
How old do you think they look there?
Oh, I would say probably in their 30s.
So that would have been about, early 1900s, so it would have been still in Nebraska then.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a remarkable picture, I think.
Isn't it?
His eyes,
Oh, that's so much like my dad.
and he's got that tilt to his shoulders.
Yeah,
That cockiness again.
yeah, sure is. Just like, think you can knock that chip off and there, try it.
Mm-hmm.
That just sure looks like my dad
Mm.
and my mother too.
Yeah, that's a great picture. You can have that.
Oh, thank you. Oh, I really appreciate that. Hmm.
Your mom always looked like her left eye there was something, it was a little lower for
Yeah,
some reason.
it was kind of went down, kind
Yeah.
of weak. Uh-huh. Sure.
Do you know why?
No, I don't.
Mm.
She never wore glasses.
I've never seen pictures of her with glasses.
She never wore glasses. She was proud.
And you said at one time that she said that she was running around with Jesse James, or
She was a friend, a close friend of Jesse James,
Mhm.
and one of the Cody boys that went. And she knew when Jesse was in hiding where he was at.
is that right?
In the Black Hills, yeah. They offered her quite a bit of money if she would tell where he was, because they knew she knew, but she wouldn't tell.
Hmm.
Because she said they were, to her, they were good boys, you know, because they stole from the rich and gave to the poor.
Mm-hmm.
And she said they weren't bad boys, they just had bad reputations for what they did, you know.
And this was when they were or they were living in the Black Hills?
Uh-huh.
Hmm.
Yeah, she knew the Cody boys and Frank and Jesse James both. She knew both of them.
Hmm. That's remarkable. She's had quite a life.
Yeah, she sure has. Oh, I'm real proud of that, Kirk. Thank
Yeah,
you.
that's just a remarkable picture.
Yes, it is.
Because you remember the one picture of your dad standing in front of the big log cabin,
Yes.
and he had a mustache.
Yeah, uh-huh.
And yet in this picture he didn't.
No.
Did he ever wear a mustache that you know of after?
Yeah, he did for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And then he shaved it off, and then I think as we kids got older, he never had a mustache after that.
He never grew a beard though.
Never had a beard. Not to my knowledge, anyway.
Yeah. When did you marry Daryl? I was looking at the information, I don't have that date.
Darrell Helscher.
Or Darrell, yeah.
Yeah. May the 6th in 19... I have to stop it. 1919.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Been so long ago, got to count back.
This other picture is the one that you were saying that was the Snyders?
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's Grandpa and Grandma Snyder.
So that would be Lucelia Agatha Snyder's parents?
Uh-huh. Yeah. He was a funny old man, grumpy but funny.
Where did they live?
Well, when I can remember, they were in Hastings last. That's the last I saw them.
Mm-hmm.
I was just a little kid then, you know, so I don't remember much, Kirk, about them.
Mm-hmm. I'm having a hard time finding information on them.
I bet. Mm-hmm.